Hello again. So I didn't quite know where to go with this. I mean, the idea was obviously to, reach out, speak to people, relate to people, who have similar stories. So I spoke to one of my friends, and he said, "Well, maybe what you should do is almost like a survival guide to, from my perspective, with someone with antisocial personality disorder, and how it has affected me, and consequently, family, friends, etc. around me like that." I mean, I've got a list here. I mean, if you're watching this and you're interested in antisocial personality disorder, you suffer from it, or you know someone that suffers from it, you probably already know the symptoms. But this is some of them, and this doesn't mean every single person who's been diagnosed is, got every one of these symptoms, 100%. It's, it can be bits and bobs. You could say that everyone's got certain traits from this list. But a person with antisocial personality disorder may exploit, manipulate, or violate the rights of others. I think that's quite obvious. Lack concern, regret, or remorse about other people's distress. It sort of ties in with the first one. Behave irresponsibly and show disregard for normal social behaviour. Now, that's something that I've done since I was about 14. And another one here, this is a big one for me. Repeatedly break the law, have difficulties sustaining relationships, and not learn from their mistakes. Now, you go back to when I was sort of, I don't know if you've watched the first video, but things started going wrong when I was about 14, 15, and I think this disorder started to affect my life in a very negative way. But, I mean, there's so many episodes, and the main thing was drinking with me, and I wouldn't learn from that mistake. Years in prison, hospital, beaten up, lost relationships, friends, houses, jobs. I mean, every aspect of my life was ruined by alcohol numerous times, and just a night out and stuff. I remember one time, this is just off the top of my head, I was out in a place called Altrincham, which is quite a posh suburb, if you like, of Manchester. And I was out, and I seen my ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend. Long story short, there was a bit of a fight, and that was that. And the bouncers, we had to leave, me and my friend. So by this time, I was really wound up by now. And we went into one of them 24-hour Tesco's. Just to get, I think we were just getting a bottle of vodka and walk back to his house. It was a couple of miles away. We'd been kicked out. End of the night, bottle of vodka, go back, fall asleep on the sofa. As we've gone in, it was more my problem, I'm sure, but the security guard was having a right look at me. We had a bit of an altercation, only verbal, and because I was already wound up, and because, you look at these symptoms, unable to control my anger, behave irresponsibly and show disregard for normal social behaviour, what my reaction to that was, I turned around, went back down the escalator, went outside, snapped up a crate, which forklifts would go into, got a plank of wood, and I seen on the police camera the next day, I'm walking up this escalator with a plank of wood. The security guards walked up to me, I've swung, he's turned around and ran. I've then gone up to one of those self-checkout tills where you scan your own food, boop, boop, and it goes through like that. Smashed one of them to pieces for God knows what reason. I mean, maybe there's something in my head, maybe there's something subconsciously that's happened with me and a self-checkout till in the past. I don't know, I can't relate to that. But anyway, I got arrested. Absolutely hounded on. I'm screaming in anger as crying almost with anger. Well, anyway, woke up the next day in the police cell, and there's nothing worse than that. There's nothing worse when you wake up in a police cell, especially when you've done a considerable amount of time already in prison, and you know the setup, you know the lay of the land, you know where this could potentially go. If you're watching this and you've been in cells yourself, you'll know there's that waiting, especially when you can't remember what you've done. And there's people screaming, idiots screaming and banging on the door, etc. And it's a horrible experience. You've got nothing in your room, no TV. All you've got is a toilet, and all you've got is yourself and your thoughts and your guilt and your regrets for what you've done the night before. And the amount of times that's happened to me, and I hate it. it's a feeling that I really feel. I suppose it's sort of self-guilt. You know, you've let yourself down again. And all this is years ago. We're talking sort of to 2012, this. And, you know, that's just one example of... And what happened there is... I used to work at a place around the corner. They heard about it. I lost my job because of that. Consequently, then I couldn't afford the rent of where I was paying, because it was quite a nice place in this posh suburb, Altrincham. I had to move into a B&B. I was in a B&B for Christmas. Life just spiralled down. And then what I do is I sort of pick myself back up and think to myself, right, we'll go again. And then all that would happen, again, the same mistakes, constantly. And it's very bizarre because, you know, if you put your hand in a fire and you get burned, you're not going to put your hand in the fire again. So every single time when I go out, there's a very high possibility, if I was to go out drinking in a nightclub in Manchester, Warrington, Liverpool, wherever, there's a very high percentage chance that I'm going to get in some kind of trouble. What I think it is, well, one, I can't drink. I'm a massive problematic drinker, and I also use alcohol, or have done in the past, used it as a coping mechanism, and that can spiral, sort of take over your life, get in your bones. It's horrible. I've been sort of there before. You know, not nice. But for me, the main problem was going on, and I'd always get in trouble. And you think to yourself, well, why don't you learn? And when I speak about when I'm in the cell the next day, and I can't remember what I've done, you know, I'm hungover. They give you, when you have some water, they give you a cup which is about that big. You know, at home, if you were hungover, you drink gallons, wouldn't you? You know, but it's just a horrible experience. And you'd think, I've probably, you know, I can't put a number on it, but numerous times been in these situations, and you're thinking, am I going to get bail? Am I going to get remanded? You know, you're trying to work out what's going on. Your solicitor, who really doesn't care, they're just there because they have to be, the on-duty call solicitor. You might get a good one if you're lucky, but most of them just don't care. You know, and that's all you're thinking, am I going to get remanded, am I going to get bail? And you think, you know, that's, you use the analogy of putting your hand in the fire. Every time I go out and get in trouble and I wake up in that police cell, I'm putting my hand in that fire and I'm getting burnt. So it doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't someone say, you know, don't do that anymore? You know, it's not working for you. And when I was in the cells the next day or the couple of days after, I'd think, wow, I'm not drinking again. I'm never doing that again. I was so close to going back to jail. And a few days later, it just go. I mean, that for me is scary, because if you know, if you don't learn from your mistakes, you know, it's okay. If you don't learn from your mistakes in terms of, you know, you leave the chicken in the you leave the chicken in the oven for too long or something, you burn the chicken. It's not the end of the world, okay? But with me, the mistakes that I'm not learning from are huge. Going smashing up a self-checkout till, regardless of how annoying they are. And on that point, actually, the next day, as I was getting bailed, you know, the police, I was clearly having an episode. You know, like I said, I was screaming, crying with anger, trying to fight the police in Tesco the evening before. And they all knew, you know, they must have seen it, thought, this isn't that guy. Next day, woke up, totally different person, having a bit of a laugh with him. And one of them turned around as he's bailing me and said, you know what, son, I don't blame you. Them bloody self-checkout tills are so annoying. So I mean, that put a bit of a funny spin on it. But yeah, I mean, so I don't sort of want to, you know, talk about every little incident that's happened, because it's almost glamorizing it in a way, because there's sort of funny sides to things, and there's sides to it where, you know, if I was in a school playground and I was telling it, I'd be showing off like, yeah, and then this happened and that happened. I don't really want it to be like that at all, because, you know, that's a really immature way of looking at things. You know, the way I want to look at things, you know, this is a serious condition which is pretty much unknown. There's no cure for it. You know, in 100 years' time, I think and other people in my situation and other mental health illnesses that aren't fully understood, we'd be in such a better situation. You know, because things would be, you know, understood more. But at the moment, it's a bit, especially when they turn around and say there's no cure, and you type in on YouTube, what to do if I've got antisocial personality disorder, and everything that comes up is telling you to stay away from these people, like, you know, it's not nice. I remember, you know, it's a bit of a horrible feeling. It's almost like they're trying to outcast you from society, which I just think, you know, you can't persecute someone for something, you know, people with antisocial personality disorder, no one came up to them and went, do you want this or not? And we went, yeah, I want this. You know, I want to be like, no. I mean, yeah, there is some people who know they've got it and they'll prey on people, you know, and they'll do that their whole life. You know, I've got antisocial personality disorder and I'm here now, you know, trying to reach out, trying to help myself. So this view that, you know, these people with this disorder are sort of evil and, you know, stay away from them, it's a load of nonsense. I mean, yeah, I have got a lot of attributes that, you know, on the symptoms, on the tick box. But, you know, do I exercise them? No. You know, when I used to go out, the manipulation, the charm side of things, yeah, that was pretty good. I used to use that for, you know, chatting up girls and things like that. It was great. But you have to rein it in. I now think, if I act like that, or if I do this, or if I say this, if I do this action, how am I affecting that other person? I never used to think about that. Because obviously these symptoms, but now, although I don't naturally think I need to think about this person, it happens anyway. Because I think, you know, it's not nice to be I don't want to be a mean person. I want to be, you know, it's nice to be nice. And right, guys, I'm starting to ramble again, so I'm going to rock and roll. Thank you for listening.